What's up, you beautiful fucking people? Welcome back to another episode of the Unaligned and Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, Jack, or the Twisted Wanderer, and today's episode is going to be a really heartfelt one. I'm excited. I feel like it's a topic that needs to be talked about more, and we're going to be talking about grief. Grief comes in all different forms. It can come when we lose someone we love, but it can also come after a major life event, such as a spinal fusion surgery, and or another, maybe like a traumatic event in someone's life where they got a disability from that event, and they're grieving, pretty much like grieving the person you were before, grieving your body, the way it moved before. Things like that. So this is something that I just really started to recognize in my own life. And, since I started the Twisted Wanderer in like 2023, I think, October, the idea is like 8 or 9 years old. But I feel like I've been like really trying to commit since October 2023. And that's what kind of led me to the community I found online, in the scoliosis and spinal fusion community, disability community. That this is where I've been able to understand what happened to me more. And it's wild to me. I can point out times in my life where, like, oh shit, I was probably in this stage of grief, but it just didn't notice this because I feel like I've always talked about or thought about grief in a losing someone aspect. I'm pretty familiar with like how that feels. But to actually realize and be able to understand more about my journey now because of learning that, hey, grief shows up in so many different ways than just losing the people we love, but in other ways, in our bodies and in our lives. So that is today's episode. Really excited to just jump right in about it. I'm also going to be introducing a new segment. So with that said, let's just roll into the episode. So grief, right? When we're talking about grief, when it comes to like scoliosis and a spinal fusion specifically, I have had my spinal fusion for 8.5 years, and let me see, 8.5 years, and I would say for the 7.5 years, 7 years, because maybe I've been on like this journey for like a year and a half, but I would say for the better half of like 7 years, 7.5 years, I didn't really honor my body or what it needed, and I kind of just pushed through and just walked around like, la 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 la, this didn't happen, I'm fine. And speaking with other women with scoliosis and a spinal fusion, I've kind of learned this is a trend. I think it takes a while for us to really step back and understand what the fuck happened and what we went through. And it feels so nice to feel validated because for the most part, I have made myself feel like shit these last like 7 years. Like, oh my God, like, just to share some backstories, just like for context, when I went into my spinal fusion surgery in September of 2016, I had just lost my best friend Jake to a heroin overdose only 3 years prior in July of 2013. And I was in no shape and form mentally ready to take on this surgery, but I did it because, one, I was in so much pain. I had been in pain pretty much for 10 years already. Like I want to say my pain really, I always say 16, but it really could be like 15, 16. Um, and I was diagnosed at 13. So I had been living with scoliosis, with pain for the better half of 9 or 10 years prior to this surgery. And I just couldn't take it anymore. Like the pain that I felt pre-surgery was fucking crazy. Like it just felt like my spine and I were always arguing, always in a fight. Just the chronic pain was really bad. It's not to say I don't have my bad days, but like my pain is better because of spinal fusion surgery. I can say that. I stand by that. But what I'm trying to say is I wasn't mentally ready for the life change that was about to happen. And because I was still dealing with such another heavy grief and it was still so new, and I was dealing with that honestly by drinking. That was my biggest coping mechanism. That's like a whole nother podcast. But I will say, like, that was my coping mechanism, and that's kind of what I went back to. Just like, whatever. I digress. That's a different episode. I'm really here to talk about like the grief aspects of things, but I just wanted to share that to kind of paint the picture. I just really wasn't ready for my spinal fusion surgery. So it took a while for all of this to catch up and understand, like I'm just now understanding there is an intersection between mental health and trauma and a physically traumatic surgery. And yeah, did I think of my surgery as a trauma when I was going into it? Absolutely not. But with some tools in my toolbox and therapy and learning and meeting people online, it's definitely a traumatic thing and a traumatic surgery and a life-changing surgery. So there's going to be big emotions that come up with this. So if you're now still on your journey, you just recently had spinal fusion, you've been fused for 1 year, 3 year, 5, 8, this is for you. This is letting you know that there is no time limit on when we get to the place that I'm going to share that I've gotten. And I'm going to share, I'm just going to share the stages of grief and kind of how they showed up in my life. And now I can acknowledge that this was grief because I have tools in my toolbox. But otherwise, I was just going, I was like, yeah, surgery, totally, I can do this. And it's just a mess. So we're going to talk about grief. So specifically, let's just talk about the stages of grief, right? And I will share with how they showed up in my life and how I'm noticing that at that time, if I would have done this, and how I handle things, or how I'm trying to handle things now. So with that said, let's just start off with the first one. And I want to point out that all of these stages are not linear. Healing isn't linear. You can be in 2 stages at once. You can get to the final stage and then wake up the next day and be at the first stage again. Life is life. It's an emotional journey, and we do our best to get up every day, get shit done that needs to be done, and try and take care of ourselves along the way. So I hope that just talking about this will make you realize you're doing a better job than you think, and we just go through the motions. When you think about spinal fusion, you're literally talking about bones being broken, ligaments and muscles being removed into different places, into different homes, and it's traumatic. So I really wanted to hold space and shed light on that today. So with that being said, The first stage of grief, shock and denial. That to me, I kind of noticed now looking back, that definitely showed up the day that I was in the pain management doctor's office and he looked at me in the face and was like, yeah, there's nothing I can really do for you. I was like, why? ¿Por qué no? Okay, why not? So that was really frustrating. And that was definitely shock and denial. Didn't know it at the time, but I was so angry. I was so pissed off. I was like, how the fuck did I get here? What the fuck? Like I said no at 18 for surgery. So it was a lot to take in that pain management wasn't going to be an option for me and that my next option was surgery. It brought up so much. I was so mad. I was like, should I have, and it kind of like makes you think about the other one, right? One of the stages of grief is also anger and bargaining. So I feel like I was in shock, denial, and anger and bargaining when this information was told to me because, well, one, now I'm bargaining with my past 18-year-old self. I can't even like call her up and talk to her and be like, hey girl, why'd you do that? But I know why I did that. I was 18 years old and I was like, fuck this. I'm not having a fucking major surgery. It just felt like every fucking time, like they tell you to wait and see. Then, and then you're told like scoliosis doesn't cause pain. And then you go to physical, like this is what I went through. And then I went to physical therapy for so fucking long. Did I ever hear the word Schroth or learn about Schroth physical therapy? Absolutely not. I think the one time I heard Schroth was probably too little too late. My good friend Kim mentioned it, and I wasn't at the point in my life to hear that shit anymore. Like, to me, I was just like, whatever. I've exhausted all my fucking options at this point. Like, this is surgery. This is happening. I was also 25 years old at my surgery. I was losing my insurance. You lose your insurance at 26 under your parents' insurance. So, like, I was just so fucking angry. And now, you know, I'm 8.5 years post-op now. But I think of that now. I think like, oh my God, if I would have just paused and stopped for a minute and listened to Kim a little bit more, could I have found a different option? Like, would Schroth have helped me decrease my curve and then I wouldn't have needed spinal fusion surgery? But I'll never know, right? And it's just getting to that point in so many phases. Like, you have the physical aspect of grief, like physically not being able to twist. Like, that's just one that comes up to me right now. Like, you can't twist anymore or move the way you used to move. And so you have that aspect, you have the physical aspect, but then you have the emotional aspect of like, fuck, did I make the right fucking decision for myself? Like, all these years later, like, I'm still questioning things. But at the end of the day, we have to, you eventually, and it's not linear, I say this again, you eventually grow to have more acceptance. And I have grown to have more acceptance about my life and my body and my decisions pertaining to scoliosis and spinal fusion. Like, and what's helped me the most is community and realizing like, hey, you know that like one repetitive thought you have in the back of your mind that like sneaks up on you all the time, makes you feel like shit? Hey, other people are out there and they feel this way too. Like, you're not alone. And that is just the best. So I'm here to tell you, I'm hoping this resonates. You're not alone. It's just, this is grief showing up And it's so, it's just grief showing up. And if you can notice that and sit with it and honor it and maybe write a journal on how you're feeling, I think that's something really good. I wish I kept a journal in my days of early healing. Honestly, keep telling myself now I'm going to start like a pain journal. But yeah, I digress. But keep a journal. So that can be like shock, denial, anger, and bargaining for me. Just like being mad at yourself for no reason. Because at the end of the day, this was my decision. I have a better quality of life. I still have pain, but I still have a curve that's to be expected. Spinal fusion doesn't just miraculously make you scoliosis free. I think that's a misconception. But that's a whole nother episode too. But yeah. So when we talk about the pain and the guilt of grief and the anger and bargaining there, hold space for those feelings, but don't beat yourself up, because the thing with these stages, once you start to like understand them and learn them, is that you can kind of start to see where you may have hung out for a bit. And I definitely hung out in denial and anger and bargaining for a long time. And some days I still go back to that. Like I said, not linear. But it's important to know and ask for help if you notice yourself beating yourself up and obsessing over what's happened. And it's not to say like, what happened to you isn't so important, because it is, but no one wants to be angry all the time or in denial all the time, because if you're stuck there, it's so hard to do the work that's needed to be done. But like I said, not linear, and it takes a long time. I'm just starting to realize this 8.5 years later. So day by day, but ask for help if you need it. Find someone, find community, and talk about this, because it's so, so important to talk about. Because if we let these feelings just stay and sit, they can snowball into, which is another stage of grief, which is depression. But there's levels to depressions, as we know. Like I'm not a psychiatrist or therapist or anything like that. I just know this because I myself am in therapy. So this is just what I'm sharing with you. There's depression because of an event, and then like there's clinical depression or like chronic depression. So it's just really important to find where you're at. So like I said, keep that journal on healing. And I'll start one too. Just because I really need to start one. So this is me saying I'm starting one. And just keep track of that, because the depression of life after spinal fusion is real. And it looks so different for everyone. But me specifically, just going back to my coping mechanism, drinking, that was pretty much what I did. I can point it out now. But I was lost. Like I chased my dreams because, I feel like you have spinal fusion surgery and you're like, holy fucking shit, am I ever gonna be able to do this again? And you think about all the things you wanted to do with your life. And then you have to put it all on pause for this major life-changing surgery. Me, myself, I was supposed to go to Bali and volunteer with sea turtles. Whenever I get to do that, it will literally be the biggest full circle moment for me. But I canceled that trip because I went and got spinal fusion surgery. And that depressed me for a long time. And I just went back to drinking. I was dealing with Jake's death. That's kind of how I dealt with that. And then I guess it just snowballed into the effect of this is how I'm dealing with my spinal fusion surgery, which isn't the best because we know drinking literally dehydrates you. And if anyone's listening with spinal fusion, you know how much your back can hurt just from fucking dehydration. Okay? Not the best choice. But those are the tools I used when I had them. And it just feels like I used to have a lot of shame talking about this, but now that I've like met other people who are like, hey, no, like you don't just magically have your life together after spinal fusion surgery. You don't just magically learn how to take better care of yourself, especially because they don't fucking give you anything. They literally just say, be careful. Swimming's cool. Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, that. So yeah, depression definitely showed up for me. How it showed up? Drinking, thinking about all things I used to be able to do, thinking about, oh my God, like, how am I ever going to have this conversation with someone that I like? Like, how am I going to date again? So many things. So as you feel these things and as they come up, honor them and try and think about, just think about it and sit with it. If I could give one piece of advice is sit with it sooner rather than later. I mean, healing is a fucking hard journey. I'm on that journey now. It's hard. It's not, I don't know, like healing is beautiful, like, but it's really fucking hard. It's hard work. It's gruesome work. It's staring yourself in the face and being like, holy shit, I have been a terrible caretaker to my body. At least that's my experience. I don't know how that looks for other people. But yeah. Then like there's something called what is it called? It's called the upward turn. And I guess this is like when we start to adjust. When all the anger, the pain, the guilt, the bargaining, the depression, when you can hold all of that and feel all of that, but then still acknowledge that you want to adjust, that this isn't where you want to sit and stay forever. So I guess like how I'm going to explain it, it's kind of how I read it. It kind of just seems to me that like you start to realize that one, it never was your fault. So if anyone feels like it's not your fault. And it's just a point in time where I guess it's just like, okay, I want more for myself. I think I want to do the work, right? And then the next stage is reconstruction. So pretty much growth. That's how I took it. And honestly, this is all like my personal experience and my opinion on my spinal fusion and my grief journey. So just want to make that clear. I think this can all show up in different ways. I'm just showing examples on how I noticed they came up in my life. So reconstruction for me, it kind of meant like changing those coping mechanisms and kind of looking at like, okay, well, what do I do to make these things that already are so painful, what do I do to make them worse? And sit with that and be like, damn, how do I take better care of myself? Because I do say drinking, but it's also like the jobs that I've held where denial can be found. If we want to I just want to backtrack a little bit. Especially when I was a patient transporter. I was a patient transporter on the front lines in 2020, in March, when the first fucking outbreak of fucking COVID started. And the amount of times I put my fusion in a position that it shouldn't have been in is too many. And I wouldn't have realized that then because I didn't live an authentic life. I keep saying this because it's so true. Like, when I say living an authentic life, when I renamed this fucking podcast Unaligned and Unfiltered, that's what I mean. Like, you need to live your life unaligned and unfiltered. I say it because I don't want it to like not make sense, but I say it because you need to honor your body and you need to live authentically and you need to protect your spinal fusion. And I didn't always do that. Like, yes, there was coping mechanisms for grief and loss, and that's like a whole nother, we can dive into that one day. But then it comes up as like, you know, after a spinal fusion, you literally can't do certain things. And sometimes there wasn't enough staff, you know, like the nurses had so much going on. The CNAs had so much going on. We all had so much going on. So this isn't to point fingers. This is just saying I put myself in terrible situations because we didn't have enough staff. So maybe I pulled maybe, how can I explain this? Like, maybe pulled the patient over with less help than I should have had. Like, obviously being confident that I could get the job done, but like, or running up hills with beds. Like, you'd have to know like the inside of being a patient transporter, but it's a very physical, grueling job. And this is a whole nother podcast, but like sometimes in the medical field, and especially in hospitals and things like that, yeah, there's things put in place on how we should or should not do things, but when there's not enough staff and things need to be done, things get done. And it's something that I've sat in because I literally did realize, I'm like, wow, I denied myself help, or I denied myself asking for more help because, one, we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic, okay? So I'm like not thinking that I'm important. Like, I'm thinking about everyone else. That's just who I am. And yeah, so it could show up that way. A different way denial can show up is maybe you've been planning something for months and you've been so excited about this event, and it's the morning of, and now you're awoke, and you know, like I mentioned in my last podcast, Russian roulette, and you wake up and it's a bad day. It could be a bad mental health day. Like, I know for myself, like my ADHD, my depression, and my anxiety, they fuck around, and sometimes I find out. So, it could be a day like that where you wake up and you're mentally not feeling well, or your back is not feeling well, and now you have to sit in this moment of like, fuck, do I deny staying home and honoring my body and taking a day of rest? Or am I going to go and push through this event because I don't want to miss out, because I don't want to let people down, you know? So it's been that way too, I've noticed. So I just want you to hear these examples of how they can show up and understand what they are, because I wish I understood what they were sooner. And my goal is to take away that isolation that I felt going through all these things. That's why we're here. It's why we're here. So I hope that sheds some light on how denial can like also come up in our lives and in our fusion. yeah, and the last one is acceptance, right? We talked about, I went back a bit, but we have shock and denial, pain slash guilt, anger, bargain, depression, the upward turn, kind of spoke about reconstruction. That's like honoring yourself, right? I just want to go back to that a little bit. So maybe it would be texting my friend, hey, um, hey Taylor, let's just use my best friend's name. Hey Taylor, I'm not feeling too hot today. I know I said blah blah blah, but I can't. And like a good friend is someone who understands that you have a variable disability. Because I feel like that's where I'm like, I don't know. I'm still trying to. I just really started calling myself disabled. It's still very new to me. But that is like, your disability can vary on like the day. That's kind of how I've started to notice my disability. So that's how I'm calling it for now. And your friend, if they love you and support you and understand that, they'll be like, okay, let me know if you need anything, or I appreciate you for letting me know. Thank you. I'll grab you some pizza, or I'll come over after, or whatever. Maybe they won't come over, but at least they'll be like, I love you. Thank you. I hope you have I hope you feel better, and I'll check in on you later. If anyone ever is like mad at you for taking care of yourself, we're not, that's a whole nother, no, it's not okay. It's not okay to be mad at someone for taking care of themselves. So, if there's anyone like that, I would maybe suggest finding a more supportive crew of people. And then, of course, like, and I say that, like, I know that's not, like, easy, but it's so important to have people in your life that understand your disability and your journey and understand you and love you authentically, for who you are, and gives you space to show up authentically. So, yeah. And then acceptance. Acceptance to me is slowly starting to appear. I think it has over the last year and a half, where I've seen other women like myself, where I've got to have these conversations on my podcast, and I've spoken to other women going through spinal fusion surgery. And it feels nice. I say it feels nice because I spent a lot of time hating myself and my body. And yeah. So, and that's not to say like, hey, we've reached acceptance. Because like I said, everything isn't linear. Healing isn't linear. Some days I wake up and I have such acceptance. And other days I wake up and I don't. And I'm pissed off that it's a bad day. And why is it a bad day? And what can I do better? And not realizing, like, yes, there is some things I can do better. But also realizing I have a diagnosis. I have chronic pain. I have a progressive diagnosis. And I can't change that. All I can do is try and feel all the feelings that I feel and get better at feeling them and understanding them so they don't cause destruction in my life, because they have caused destruction in my life. And also, I just want to talk about the physical aspects of grief in our body a little bit. And for a big one for me, it was dancing after spinal fusion. Like, I was never a professional dancer or anything like that, but it was just something I always thought was beautiful and sexy and a way to connect. And then I met my husband, okay, and he is Puerto Rican. He is from Puerto Rico, and when I met him, and like, he's such a good dancer, um, that part showed up again. That anger showed up again because I was like, oh, I can't move the way I used to. Like, can't dance good enough with my husband, which is like crazy, right? Like, why? Why? Why do you make yourself feel like shit? Especially when you know the other person doesn't see you like that or see that. But we have a way of being our worst critics, our worst bullies, and I want to let you know that I don't know, I said normal, like, but I hate when I use that word because, like, what is normal? I know I used it in my last podcast too, and like, I just don't like the word. But what is normal? You know, and people are going to people should love you for you exactly who you are, and if someone doesn't do that, they're not right for you, and they don't deserve to be around the beauty and the uniqueness that is you. And I hope you know that. And it took me a long time. Sometimes I'm just like, ugh. But with a little self-love and some TLC and just learning and sharing that with your partner, you get closer, and they understand that part of you. And you don't need to feel anger or guilt because maybe you can't dance a certain way anymore. So yeah, so that was just like an example. Another way that you can, that I'm finding to live more authentically and to embrace the unalignedness of my life, to embrace the scoliosis, to embrace ADHD. Well, not specifically ADHD, but whatever. I have ADHD and I do embrace that. But yeah, like the whole unaligned, like the title of the podcast, that's what I was thinking. I was like, how can I live more authentically? And to me, that with my spine, that shows up, like, for a good example, I recently had to fly home because Ryan passed away. I know I shared in the last episode that I had a death in our family. And just like a silly example is we had to fly home. We had to fly from Florida to New York to go be with family. And I brought my Scully props with me this time. And I don't have them with me. I'll have to find them, or link them. I could possibly link them. I don't know. I gotta find the website. But anyway, I digress. I brought my Scully props with me, and so one is like a ball, like just like a ball that you can put on the wall and do like rub out some knots. And then another one is like a bean bag, and long and behold, just so happy I brought it with me because, you're going through something really upsetting and sad. Emotions are heightened anyway. Back pain, I've noticed, can just be caused from so many different things, like emotional distress, sadness, like the tensing of our bodies. So I knew, like, one, the plane was going to fucking suck. The whole thing was just going to fucking suck. It was going to be sad. So I was like, how could I support myself and make this easier on me physically, because I know the emotional part of this is going to be so hard. So taking those Scully props with me was a game changer, and I want to share why. So just sharing, like, when you have a wake, there is usually like 2 viewings. So we had 2 viewings that day, 2 to 4, and then 6 to 8. So from 4 to 6, the family and I, we all went to a restaurant, and the restaurant has, long behold, this scary fucking wooden chairs that all restaurants fucking have. That's a whole nother. I won't get into that. I won't get into my rant of wooden chairs. But anywho, I had my Scully prop, and I was actually like able to place it behind my back and the wooden chair to like close the gap. So I had like such beautiful lumbar support, and just that tiny act of self-love made such a difference in my trip. Just like showing up authentically. Like, I think a lot of us, and I was just speaking with Allie about this, I think literally yesterday. 2 days ago. I don't know. What's today? Today's Thursday. So I was just speaking with Allie from Haven Well Pilates about this on Tuesday, when we recorded. I'm not going any more into that. Darn, surprise. But that episode will be out much later. Anywho's, but we were talking about how, oh my goodness, I love when my brain just farts. Allie and I were just talking about, how like you go through this like spinal fusion surgery, you have scoliosis, and you have like, well, I don't want to make it my entire personality, but it's like, it's a big part of me. So why shouldn't I honor that part of me? Like, I didn't want to make it my whole personality. I wasn't like, these aren't my Scully props, I'm putting it behind my back now. Like, I guess like I, in my head, always thought, like, I don't want to bother people or be an inconvenience, or maybe it was like caring what others thought. I don't know what it was, but I didn't feel the need to show up authentically and take care of myself. And that's not good, because everyone deserves self-care and love, and to honor their bodies and to live an authentic life. And I just hope everyone does that. And no matter how long it takes you to get there, like for me, it's been a journey. But I hope you know that these little acts of self-love, they go such a long way, and no one cares. If anything, the people in your life are just going to support you more. And if that isn't the case, you got a friend right here. My email, my DMs, they're always open. So I'm always here to cheer you on and support you and give sound advice. If you'd be so, like, I'd be honored. So that is something we were talking about, and it's a shame that we feel that way. You know, like, it's not shameful, but it makes me sad that, like, myself and others feel this way. Like, we don't want to make it our whole personality, but we have to honor that it is a big part of ourselves, and that maybe that means going to a restaurant and, hi, no, I need a booth. Okay, well, that's going to be a 20-minute wait. That's fine. I need a booth. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that. Maybe you want to try something new. Maybe, like another time where I feel like denial came in, although I got the job, so I'm really proud of myself. But when I was, I think it was like 2018. Yeah. 2018, after I had went to Peru, I moved to San Diego, California, because my best friend at the time, they were living there. And so I went there, I moved there, and I got a job at Coyote Ugly. This was just a dream of mine. It was something that I didn't think would happen, because the last time I applied, I think it was 2015, so the year before my spinal fusion surgery, and I didn't get the job. And I was like, whatever. And then spinal fusion happened. I was like, this is never going to happen. Like, I can't fucking shake my ass. I this fucking dream is dead. But I think it was 2 years after my fusion, and I was a little bit more comfortable with my body, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to fucking do it. So I applied and I got the job, but something that could have helped me is just expressing that I had a spinal fusion. I think I maybe said it like one time, but like I could have asked for extra help with learning the dances. And I did also, like ADHD. I have like, no, because I don't know, whatever. I learn differently too, but still, the booty shaking part and like the moving parts and moving. For me personally, 2 years after, I feel stiff. And that's not to say like I'm not stiff now, but I feel like personally I'm less stiff every year that goes by, but also I'm always stiff. It's so hard to explain a spinal fusion. So I'm hoping if you're listening, you have one and maybe that resonates. But yeah. Hold on. So yeah, just showing up for yourself in ways that you don't think of are so helpful. And that those little things that you do could be signs of grief. Like, I was in denial. I could have asked, like, hey, I have a spinal fusion. Can I do this move a little different? Or, you know, and just seeing instead of just assuming the answer is going to be no, or trying to hide who you truly are because you don't want to be an inconvenience. Like, that's not it. You are worth so much more than that. And your story is beautiful. What you've been through, it's hard and it's painful, but you are beautiful. So share your beauty with the world. Share your uniqueness. And those who will support you, and those who won't are fucking assholes. Yeah. So I think I spoke a lot on that, a lot on grief and how it can show up in our lives after a major event or surgery, after trauma. And you are enough. The way that your body is enough because you are here. By design, you are a human fucking being, and that is enough. You deserve love, respect, and you deserve to live a life authentically. And I hope that you can take all of this, maybe put it in your toolbox and use it. And use it to honor yourself and keep track of where you are in your journey. And just know you're not alone. We're all out here. There's so many people with scoliosis and spinal fusions and chronic pain and disabilities, and we're all out here, and we're just trying our best. And at the end of the day, that's all we can do. So keep fucking going, because we need you, and you need you. So that's my tidbit on that. But with that said, before we roll out of here, I do want to bring a new segment in. And that segment, guys, is going to be twist and tell. So, I don't know if it'll be in every podcast. Maybe we'll do like every other or specifically just solo, or maybe we'll bring it into the guest ones in the future. But twist and tell is going to be your guys' chance, the listeners, to write in about just a time that you've experienced something. If you want to share your story, and I will share it on the next episode. So that's what we're going to do. And for today's episode of today's segment of Twist and Tell is going to be, I'm going to ask you guys this question right here. And that is, what is the one thing your post-op body has taught you that your pre-op self couldn't understand? So yeah, take some time, think about that. I'm really excited to hear your answers. So again, what is one thing your post-op body has taught you that your pre-op self couldn't understand? I would just really love to hear from all of you and just hear a little bit about your journeys, and I would just love to share them. So if this is something you'd be interested in, answer that question and send your answers to twistedwanderer418@gmail.com. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think. I'm excited for that. I think it's cute. I like that it's called Twist and Tell. But yeah, to close this out, I just want to say, whether you're grieving someone you love or the version of yourself you had to leave behind, there is no timeline. You're allowed to feel every emotion, every stage, whenever and however it feels right. But keep track of how long you're in these stages. Don't beat yourself up, and find someone to talk to, because I'm just a big believer in healing out loud. I tried to do it in silence and I almost didn't make it. So please get a journal, write to me. I'm always here to talk. So I'm here. DMs are open. My email is open. So just find someone you trust and that truly cares about you. Because I care about you. I believe in you. Life is full of these ups and downs. Whether, like I said, whether it be grief in our bodies and grief with the one we love, life can be hard. But what we can do is we can keep pushing and sometimes take a rest if that's needed too. But heal out loud. Love yourself out loud. Honor your body. And love your body, because it's the only one we have. And at the end of the day, it's ours. And that's enough. All right, my beautiful fucking people, my fellow wanderers, I will see you all in the next episode. But until then, try and find the beauty in every curve. Bye.